Welcome to Sustainability Unplugged, podcast by Olive Gaea, where we engage with industry leaders in conversations at the intersection of sustainability, innovation, and corporate responsibility. I'm Jessica Scupacasa, your host and the co-founder of Olive Gaea. In each episode, we explore real-world challenges, emerging solutions, and the bold ideas driving meaningful change across sectors. Today, we're looking at rethinking fashion's footprint from impact to accountability. I'm really pleased to be joined by Deepthi Chandran, the founder of Only Ethical, to explore the true cost of fashion from carbon emission and supply chain transparency, ethical labor, and governance. Deepthi, it's a real pleasure to have you with us today. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Jessica. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be on this episode with you.
Deepthi, can you tell us, first of all, a little bit about yourself, about Only Ethical, and what has inspired you to start it?
Right. So my name is Deepthi. I am actually born in Dubai. I've lived all my life here. I am a postgraduate and I came to Dubai I went to India to study and then I came back to Dubai to start my career. And I worked for around 13, 14 years in finance and accounting in some of good companies in UAE. And post that, I think it was in 2018. Yeah, it was in 2018. I just felt like I need to take a break and revisit on what I really want to do, especially because I had a couple of inspirations during my corporate journey. I worked for Entertainer. I worked with Donna, the founder of Entertainer. Everybody knows Entertainer in UAE. So she is a big inspiration. She was a big inspiration at that time on like how women could lead and make things happen, bring real change. So I think the first bug of entrepreneurship started from being inspired from her. And then after Entertainer, I did continue working as a consultant for new businesses. I met a lot of founders, so passionate, making things happen. And then I was kind of certain by 2018 that I need to try. If it's not now, maybe it's never. And so, yeah, at 2018, I quit from my corporate journey. I took a break for 1 year trying to figure out what I really want to do. To be honest, up until 2018, I was a very fast fashion shopper. Like I would get 2 to 3 packs online shopping every month. Guilty. I think a large part of it is because there was no awareness around it in this region, unless you were actually looking for it or unless you're coming from a region where the sustainable fashion concept is already spoken about and people are already aware about it. Back in 2018, still we were in a very fast consuming space, at least around fashion. And I think it was also the same time people started talking about sustainability here in UAE. And I was in a couple of networking groups. And I still remember there was this one guy, he said sustainable fashion. And I was like, what is that? What is sustainable fashion? And then he explained to me, and then I further studied, understood what the topic is, watched a lot of documentaries. I researched on fashion revolution and met a couple of brands, connected with them, understood what's happening. And this was sort of, how do I say, it was like an eye opener. And I felt very guilty on how I was shopping before and the kind of impact I was making with my actions. So, and also during that time, there was not many options for sustainable fashion in this region. And that's when I saw an opportunity with the brands that I was already connected to and understanding and learning from them, that if I bring their products to this market, I could test it out and see what the response is, knowing that the price points are higher than the fast fashion market. And there are a couple of other challenges too. But when I saw the quality of the products that the brands that I wanted to associate with was producing, I was convinced that this should work. Yeah, so that's primarily how it started. I had like 5 brands initially. I spend a long time on internet trying to research on the best brands to work with. Fortunately, these 5 brands were from my home country itself, from India itself. And again, it was a learning for me that India was already producing good, sustainable products in fashion, good designs, good quality finish. Like I'm speaking about in 2018. So they were already developed like 5, 6 years in this concept in India. So yeah, sourcing from India was easy. I got the brands here. They were open to experiment and come into this region and share their story as well. So we had brands who upcycle, Doodlage it's called. They upcycle from textile waste from the industry, producing good stuff. And you'll be amazed how much of good quality textiles are like dead stock in many of the clothing mills that at the end of the year they try to discard it either by sending it to the landfill or burning it. So yeah, so brands like Doodlage take from them and make use of it, making very limited collections and like unique pieces, and also ready to wear, something you can wear every day. Yeah, and then there was also concepts like, hand woven organic cotton, going very traditional. And like, if the textile industry of India is very traditional, it's part of the DNA of the Indian culture. So many brands were using this traditional craft for modern designs. Yeah, so these brands actually helped me to launch and in 2019, and since then we are here. We have worked with almost 50 brands so far, and yeah, and we continue to sort of discover new brands every day. We've expanded from going from India to other regions of the world. Even in UAE, there's a lot of sustainable brands coming up and homegrown brands. So we are working with them as well. So yeah, it's been quite a journey. More learning. Yeah.
Wow, Deepthi, thank you very much for sharing this. I have immediately a question then for you. So you brought the sustainable brands to the UAE. How would you rate the sort of acceptance of consumers? How are they approaching sustainable fashion? And has there been any change since you first launched? Of course, in the middle, we had COP28 in the UAE. So have you noticed any changes in the way local consumers are shopping fashion?
Yes, actually, back in 2019 when I launched, the reality is I was learning what is sustainable fashion, and I was like sharing my knowledge with my audience every single day, every person I meet, because every time I meet them, the first question is, why is it so expensive? And I had to explain why the price point is such. And what I've noticed is once they buy the product, they experience the product, people are happy to make that switch. I am, to be very honest, I'm not sure if people are, sort of choosing sustainable products because it's sustainable. The reality is, if the quality of the product is not good, be it sustainable or not sustainable, people are not going to buy. So what I have focused on last 5 years is to get quality products so that people buy it because the product is good. And as a responsible seller, it's my duty and my conscious effort to make sure that what I bring to the table is made ethically and it is made of sustainable materials. So, having said that, there's a lot of awareness and a lot of change. People are having a much, I would say, they're much more open mind about understanding what the concept is, testing it. And once they test it, if they're happy about it, they continue the journey. And if they're not happy about it, or if they think that it's not suitable for them, they do not continue the journey. So, what the change I've seen is that there is an open mind to understand and welcome sustainable products into their life, which is already a very big change. The other thing is that, again, this has been a big learning for me. When I launched Only Ethical, I thought my audience or my customers will be mainly the kind of audience from countries where sustainability is already part of their life, like mainly from Europe or US, for example. However, my biggest market, or I would say the biggest customers that I have is the locals of UAE, KSA, mainly GCC, yeah, the local population, because they really understand the quality of natural fabrics, the kind of effect it has on their body. Because I remember I was having a pop up, and there was a very young Emirati family who walked into our pop up store, and she saw the fabric and she was like, "This is so good. This is something we don't get here." So the fabric was mainly hand woven khadi. Khadi is a very cultural fabric that comes from India and Pakistan. So, and she was very happy to find that in Dubai. And she explained to me how they would go shopping for these kind of fabrics, traveling to countries like India, for example, because they couldn't find it here. So yeah, so just getting to explain there that there is an audience in the region who understand this like it is in a DNA, to wear only natural fabrics, only hand, not synthetic. Like I have customers asking, if you have any synthetic, I don't want from you. So yeah, so there is already an audience who understands this concept. And the change that I'm seeing is the new audience who are keeping an open mind to welcome that change. I hope that explains it.
That's very, very interesting. We briefly touched upon fast fashion at the beginning of our conversation.
Yeah.
We know it's a culprit from different point of views. We know that it's also a major contributor to global emission. So, what do you think are really the most overlooked negative impacts in the fast fashion value chain, and how, of course, Only Ethical is addressing greenhouse gas emissions, especially those embedded in materials and transport?
Sure. So, fast fashion, I think two things for me. What I have identified is the way it impacts the carbon footprints is definitely the materials that's used for producing the fashion itself, and secondly, the mass production. If you speak about these two things, how we are addressing this is we work only with natural fabrics. I mean, we are not producing at the moment. The brands that we work with make designs only with natural fabrics, and the synthetics that which we normally do not have, but in case we ever have, it's normally recycled or upcycled. Mostly upcycled fabric, which means the fabric is already existing. There's no new material, new synthetic fabric created to make that particular fashion piece. So yeah, that is the material side of it. And when it comes to mass production, we, again, the producers that we have, they are producing in very limited quantities. And also we largely work on a make on order concept, which means that you order only, then the piece itself gets made. This has helped us so far. People, again, this is a, just getting back to the just keep like noting a change that we have seen is that when we were launching and we told people that this is a make on order concept, that means a customer will have to wait for 15-20 days. Everybody was like, nobody is going to wait for 15-20 days. But what we have seen, when the product is good, when customers have bought it once, they're happy to buy it again and also wait for 15-20 days because they know it's good. It is having a good, I don't know, it makes them feel good. They like the design, etc. So yeah, so that's how we are addressing in terms of material and the production process. And of course, there's the ethical side of it. That is another conversation. So what we have seen is that, at least in the materials that we use, most of them are either hand woven or they're created in power looms. We have suppliers whose factories are solar powered, not all of them. We have two of them whose units are completely solar powered. and they recycle their water waste for their fabric dyeing. So the other thing is that in sustainable fashion concept, we are very conscious about even the dyes that we use. If we use azo-free dyes or natural dyeing is mainly from flowers, leaves, or things that you find in your kitchen like onions, etc. So these kind of concepts also we have, which you don't see in fast fashion. Again, they use very heavy chemical dyeing, which again releases a lot of carbon footprints, pollutes the waterways and things like that. So yeah, so for me, these two things is the materials and the production process. Thirdly, probably the last thing is the supply chain of it, right? Like we are very conscious about our supply chain. Like from the beginning, I've tried to keep the travel time of the products at the least minimum. We have structured our entire, I would say, delivery process around this concept. That is, once a product is made, it doesn't have to travel at many places to reach the customer. This way, we are bringing some control around the carbon footprint. I wouldn't say we are carbon negative, that but we still generating carbon footprints, but we are controlling it at this stage. Hopefully, one day we will get negative. And then for like we are partnered with Olive Gaea, so the travel, we have a system where the carbon footprints generated from the manufacturing to the supplier is, we have an offset program with you guys. So that's again one conscious effort that we have made. So yeah, I think that sort of explains how we are tackling or trying to make a difference in the way carbon footprints are generated from the fashion industry as such. Yeah.
This is great. And thank you for the trust that you have put on Olive Gaea for this. We touched upon materials, we touched upon greenhouse gas emissions, the logistics part. What about ethical labor? Ethical labor is something that is often talked about, but poorly enforced. So, what does ethical production really looks like in practice?
Right. So, from my experience, I have seen that in handled in different ways. So, companies who have the budget to get certified for fair trade, like you have manufacturing units, even in China, for example, there are manufacturing units who are certified for fair trade. There are a lot of factories in India as well, clothing factories who are certified for fair trade. But getting these registrations come with a very heavy cost. So if you don't do that volumes in your factories, it doesn't make sense for them to go after these audits and certifications. So obviously, these factories who are certified, they do have a program, not program, I would say, they are audited for paying fair labor wages. So, like for example, in India, what I understood is that they have, each city or each state has a minimum wage that employees need to be paid in certain sectors of certain industries. And it is a responsibility of each employer to pay that minimum wage to the employees. What we have seen is the most of the brands, what they do is they pay the minimum wage and plus, I would say, like not just the minimum wage, but they pay more than the minimum wage, because the minimum wage is minimum. You cannot really, sort of have a saving or, plan for your future, etc. So this is one thing, that is paying employees minimum wage or a living wage. What we look for is a living wage, not just the minimum wage, depending on the scale of the brand, right? And the other thing is that the employees have sort of, a respectable, safe working condition. They're not like working in a sweatshop, for example. Yeah, so these kind of things are audited when factories are given the fair trade certificates. The other thing is that, if they're allowed to take days off, do they get holidays for the special occasions? All these things are checked. And also the hygiene of the place. How clean is the factories? Do they have proper toilets and things like that? So all these things are checked during the audit. This is what happens in factories who are audited and given fair trade. And then there is the other kind of ethical manufacturing, which are small manufacturing units. They don't have the volumes to sort of spend on these audit and get fair trade certified and things like that. They work on smaller volumes. They are homegrown brands. What happens is that they might have like 5 members who are into sitting, in a office making clothes on order, on order basis. So these kind of structure is what we mostly work with. And even in this structure, we speak to the brands and we ask them, what is your wage structure? How do you treat your employees and things like that? And we also do visits to these brands. So like I said, we worked with almost 50 brands. And to be very honest, I've not visited 50 brands, but we visit the brands who are selling well with us to have an eye on, what things are happening, how things are handled in these places. And there are actually, to be very honest, the experience I have when I go to the facilities of these homegrown brands is very cultural. Like everyone is there like a family. There is a master G and there is his team who's doing who's stitching up the clothes or the piece of clothing. They are all there having a good time, and it's like a normal, a good working environment. So ethical manufacturing is today is in these two structures, where one is audited and certified and the other is not audited and certified. But it's only because they don't have the volumes and the funds to so go after it. But as a retailer, we do have a check on the brands that we work with and how these brands handle their employees. And even if they're not certified, do they give them the basics of living wage, proper working condition, days off, and and the general interaction with the employees. So this is how we sort of have come across in terms of ethical manufacturing.
These are great insights. So what advice would you give to a consumer who would love to shop more responsibly, but just to ensure that what they buy is truly sustainable and not just a marketing label?
Oh, this is a very good question, because even as a retailer, we get duped by greenwashing. So it is difficult sometimes to identify the real good brands, especially because there is no control, and like in terms of legal control or control by the government on what labels you can use, what words you can use as a fashion brand who claims that they are sustainable. So I think the way I shop today, I buy from other sustainable fashion brands as well, is that I always do my research about the brand. The first thing I check is the materials that they use for their products, and I follow them for quite some time on their social media and stuff like that. And if I have any question, I write to the brand and ask them, see, I saw this on your website. I was not sure how this is sustainable. So can you please explain? And probably because I've been in the industry for some time now, when they answer, I kind of figure out if it is genuine or not. So that is one thing I would advise or people that to sort of have a look at the brand, do your research on the brand, see what materials they are using, ask them about their ethical manufacturing. If they're claiming it is ethical manufacturing, how ethical you are. And from the answer they give, you should be able to sort of make some sort of judgment. And the other thing, which is very important, is Sustainable fashion is a very big umbrella right now, and there are a lot of concepts that come under it. Like, for example, we are into new materials, yeah, new concepts, new designs. You have thrift stores, you have rentals, etc. You need to find what works for you, what works for your budget, and choose what is suitable for your lifestyle, right? If you do, I mean, do you have, are you, is thrifting most suitable for you? Then, choose that option. If renting is suitable for you, choose that option. And in an ideal, for example, my wardrobe has the three of it. Yeah, like I have new sustainable designs. I have some pieces thrifted. I have rented some stuff. So I sort of, circle between the three of this in as my sustainable wardrobe. So yeah, I think that is a good approach where you're giving a very, you're sort of balancing it out in all the three concepts. Because what happens is something that I really like. It is maybe I cannot buy it, it's just too expensive. So then I go, can I rent it or can I thrift it from somewhere else? That kind of a journey is, as a consumer, I decide that for myself. But then again, I stay within these three options. Yeah, so that's basically it. And the other thing is that a lot of things around sustainability happens because we are into fast consumption. Like, I want to dress today, I want to dress tomorrow. There is no planning happening because, we are sort of programmed these days to sort of not plan and just say, okay, I have an event tomorrow, so I'll just buy it today. That we are programmed in that journey. So something that I have adopted in the last couple of years is that I plan my events, and if I need to get something, I sort of make sure that I get something beforehand and not rush and buy something unsustainable for the event at the last moment. Because what I've seen, at least for myself in the personal experience, is that when I keep things for the last minute, I always go for something fast and which is absolutely unsustainable. So yeah, I've started planning my things around this and not make very last minute decisions to buy things. And yeah, so this is something I've adopted in my own lifestyle.
Thank you,
I hope
Deepthi.
that helps.
These are definitely very, very responsible, great advices that we can all try to sort of implement in our daily lives. So just one last question, maybe on the future. So what's next for Deepthi and Only Ethical and sustainable fashion?
Oh, okay. What's next is that, well, we are a digital first company. We've always been digital since we were born. This year, we would like to go more offline. I think that is a space still very open these days for new concepts. And I think there is, when it's offline, you meet people and the conversations are different. Yeah, so this year we are focusing on going more offline and new markets. Yeah, I would say that.
That's great. So we look forward to meeting you in person.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Deepthi, for joining us, for sharing so candidly about your journey and insights, which were very interesting. I really learned a lot today about sustainable fashion. So thank you again for a fantastic conversation.
Thanks, Jessica. I appreciate you having me here. And all the best for the podcast.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Sustainability Unplugged. I hope you enjoyed this conversation, and if you did, stay tuned for the upcoming episodes. Until next time, I'm Jessica Stopacasa, and this is Sustainability Unplugged by Olive Gaea.